Hey everyone, and welcome back to our introduction to tabletop RPGs. I'm Bradley, and I'm with Steven, and now we're going to show you the Fate role-playing game and kind of how a scene plays out there. So what we have going on right now is we've got our board set up with a map and our tokens kind of representing our characters in a scene. Along the top left of the screen, you'll see something called the ladder, and that's the way in which Fate kind of determines how successful an action is. Below that are aspects and boosts, which are aspects or things about the scene that are true or that are in play. So in this case, they're in a place called the Jade Temple. It's above the clouds and it's a sacred place. And so we have that listed under our aspects. Along the bottom underneath our playmat, we have the four types of actions in Fate, as well as the four types of outcomes. And no matter what you do in Fate, it's going to fall under one of those four actions, and the outcome of that action will be one of the four listed. So we have those at the bottom. We'll go over real quick. So creating an advantage is basically when you are trying to change a situation somehow or create a situation or a state of affairs in a scene. For instance, if you're in a house that's on fire and you're trying to put it out, you might create an advantage like bucket full of water. So you can throw that on the fire. Overcomes are when you're trying to do something and overcome an obstacle that's in your way, be that physical, sometimes metaphorical. For instance, if there's a cliff and you have to climb to the top, you might use your athletic skill to overcome that and get to the top. And then attack and defend go hand in hand. They are for when you're attacking someone or you're defending yourself against someone who has attacked you. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be a physical attack. Maybe you're trying to push someone physically, but it could also be something like a social attack. For instance, you spreading a rumor about a business that you're competing against, and you want to say that their product is, a bad product. That might actually be an attack. Whereas you might defend that attempt of someone spreading a spurious rumor with the reputation of your business. So they can be very metaphorical in that way. And then, of course, we have the outcomes. As I mentioned, all those actions are going to be determined by that outcome. So you either fail, which is you roll lower on your result than the target you were aiming for. You can tie, which is that you roll exactly equal to the number you were aiming for. Success means you roll greater than that number, or success with style, which means you roll greater than that number by at least three or more. Now, the scene we have set up here, we have our character here whose name is Hong Ying, and he is a warrior who travels the land. He is currently visiting the Jade Temple, and along has come a magistrate and his guards, and they are trying to ransack the temple under the excuse that the monks have failed to pay what is due to the emperor. He's going to try and resolve that scene and see if he can protect the temple from the magistrate and his goons. All right, so Steven's going to be playing Hong Ying. Steven, what do you want to do about these fellows here?
The first thing I want to do is try and persuade them to back down. Since I am a hero of the people, I'm going to try and persuade the spearmen to back down. I will raise my voice and address them and say, I am the son of the great General Wu. This temple is under my protection. Leave now.
So he did very well. If you'll notice on screen, just in the chat box there, he has rolled rapport and he's gotten a +2 because of his stunt that we see. He's a hero of the people. And so they only get a 2. So Steven has succeeded with style. They've listened to his plea and they're like, he's right. We probably shouldn't be doing this. We're going to run away. And so realizing, Hong Ying's formed a reputation and what they're up to is no good, kind of rethink their choices and move on with their life. Two of them are going to run away. Sorry, you're on your own, leaving the magistrate and just one of his guards.
All right. I actually want to find out some more information too. So I'm not going to back down on defending the temple, but I am loyal to the Empire, and I'm not sure why these Imperial soldiers are here. So I'd like to address the magistrate, and I'm going to ask, why is this temple being taxed? Temples have never been taxed before. How can they be behind on taxation when they don't owe anything?
All right, yep, that's a great idea. The magistrate interlaces his fingers and he gets kind of a smile on his face. He's like, "It is a new edict from the emperor himself. All temples across the land are now subject to his majesty's tithe." So he is going to roll his deceive skill, and you will defend that with the empathy skill to see if you can read how well he is
All
at
right.
lying, or
I
if you can actually
definitely
lie.
want to know if this is true or not. Oh man,
Oh no.
I think I might believe him a little bit.
Yeah. You can also spend your fate points, those little tokens on the left hand side there, if you can bring in one of your aspects in order to do so. Then you can, get a +2 or reroll. For instance, you are the seventh son of the great General Wu. You've dealt with a life at court, so you're kind of adept at reading people who lie or speak in half truths. And so you might want to spend a fate point to bring that into play and reroll that roll or get a +2 bonus on your total.
I think I am. I'm +2 is not going to be good enough.
Mm.
I got to roll almost perfect, but we're going to try it. So I'm going to spend one of my fate points, and I'm going to re-roll.
All right, well, that's much better. He didn't succeed with style. So, kind of suspicious, but you have no reason to believe lying yet. So, we can say that he's going to effectively create an aspect in the scene called air of sincerity. You think he might actually be legitimate, as crazy as it seems, to reverse hundreds of years of imperial edicts and start charging these poor benevolent monks tithe, but it's so it seems.
I'm gonna attempt one more time to persuade them to leave, if I can. So I'm gonna appeal to, if it is a new edict, then surely they can't be behind on their taxes. Let's give them some time to straighten this out. There's no reason to be coming in here and ripping their wealth away when they haven't had enough chance to raise the money.
Okay, that's very good. So you're gonna try another rapport roll.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it one more time.
So the soldier listens to what Hong Ying has to say, and he turns to the magistrate, and he's like, "Gee, boss, he has a point. Maybe we could give him like a week or so to get with the program." But the magistrate says, "No, they will pay now." You see, he gets visibly angry and is almost bristling with the fact that you're questioning his authority.
I would like to step forward and ready my weapon.
Okay, so you were prepared to defend these poor monks and their meager wealth against, the magistrate. So the guard sees you kind of ready, and he looks at his boss, who's very angry, and he turns around and he kind of raises his spear too. And from your, position at the other side of the bridge, you can see him kind of swallow really hard, and he takes a step forward, and then another step, and his spear is shaking in his hand. Clearly, he's heard of your reputation, but he has a duty to fulfill.
So I'm gonna close with him. As I move up, I'm going to apologize to the guard. You can see he's conflicted, but I am not going to back down from defending the temple. So I kind of raise my sword and salute, and then close with him.
Okay. He takes a look back at his boss one more time. Then he looks at you, then back at his boss, and he looks at you, and then he realizes he really doesn't want to be here, and he starts to run away. And as he gets back across the bridge, as he's like passing the magistrate, you can see it almost looks like there's black smoke coming out of the magistrate's eyes and nose and ears, and it's forming like almost like a fog or a miasma. And he's like, All of you are cowards. This is the Emperor's will. And as he does so, the fog goes out and it strikes a soldier and he disappears. And then in his place, suddenly we have some strange demon with sharp talons. And the soldier's spear clatters to the ground. The soldier's gone, and in his place is this strange, evil creature. And you can smell in the air. It smells like death and fear and all these terrible things. And the creature roared and it charges across the bridge.
So a part of me is glad that it's now a creature I can attack without empathy. But I do feel sorry for the guard. However, I'm going to just immediately close and
So now the way movement works in Fate is you sort of arbitrarily kind of divide an area into what are called zones. And each character can move one zone for free as part of their action, provided that nothing is in their way, like a locked door. But so long as there are no barriers, they can move one zone for free or more zones if they want to do that as part of their action. So what we have going on here is we have the area of the temple that Hong Ying and the monks are on is one zone. The bridge is a zone in itself. The far side of the bridge, and then each of the statues are zones, meaning you could actually move up to those if you wanted to with an athletics roll. Those would probably give you superior positioning. Also of note, since the sorcerer is clearly displaying this horrible, terrible magic, he summoned some sort of demon, and black magic is banned in the Empire. You can tell he was probably a lying snake, and his arrogant sincerity aspect that he created on the scene is going to go away because clearly something's not right here.
awesome. Do I get to go first? How do we set up that?
So the way initiative works is you roll a notice skill depending on the stunt you take. For instance, it could be a different skill, athletics, something of that nature. Maybe you take a stunt to use your fighting as your initiative. In this case, the slasher demon, he's going to use his athletic skill to determine initiative. You'll roll a notice, and so whoever gets the highest total will go first. So he
Looks
will
like
go first.
he's going first.
Yeah,
That's
he
all
will.
right. I'm defending.
So he'll just move into your zone as part of his action. He jumps up from the bridge onto the cliff and brandishes his huge clawed arms and he just swings them down at you without mercy, remorse, or hesitation. And so he's going to roll a fight roll, and you will defend with either athletics or fight or preference. Combatant. So he rolled a 3.
So I'm going to defend with fight. So I'm going to try and parry his blows. Oh my gosh, I got so many negatives.
Oh no.
um, I am going to burn another fate point. So I'm going to use Gifted Warrior, and I'm just going to add +2 so that I know I beat him.
So in that case, so you'll just succeed. So when you succeed on a defense action, you are going to resist your opponent's action. So that means he's trying to attack you, you defend, and he does not do any damage or what's called stress in Fate.
All right. So having blocked him, I am going to make a counter attack. So I'm just going to slash at him with my katana.
Oh wow. And so you have gotten a 5. Very good. And so just like you defended, he's actually going to use his athletic skill. He's so busy just fighting like a berserk maniac that he can't defend himself with his claws, so he's just going to dodge the blow rather than trying to parry it away with his claw arms. So he has tied you. And for an attack there, if you tie, you inflict no harm, but you get a boost in that case. So, what a boost is, it's just like an aspect, except it disappears when you use it. So, instead of having to spend a fate point, it's an aspect that you can either use to reroll or get a bonus, and then it goes away. What would you like to call your boost?
I'll just call it observations. So basing off my teachings of General Wu, I'm wanting to focus on what his fighting style is. So just seeing how he reacted.
That's your boost on the scene, and so you can use that as your next action or as part of your defense or however you choose to do that. So what you notice is that as you fight and parry this creature, it seems to be just driven by pure rage and anger. It's not fighting, with any sort of skill. It's clearly just coming at you with everything that it has in an effort to rip you to pieces.
All right. I'm sure I can use that.
So you see, as it swings at you, there's that kind of weird, terrible black fog that was coming out of the sorcerer and the guard that was trying to run away. It's sort of spewing out of this creature as well, and it comes at you again, claws raised, and gives a terrible shriek and tries to attack you. It gets a 6.
So I'm going to again defend the fight. Oh my lord.
Ooh.
Uh, can I use my observations to reroll that?
Absolutely, you can.
Burn observations for me, and I'll.
We'll do that.
Oh, it's not any better.
Oh no! So this time, it looks like the creature has succeeded with style. So he's going to do damage to you in the form of stress. And you have a stress box on your character sheet. Toggle one of those so you have a max of 4, and so you'll check off one of your boxes at 3.
So I'm going to move my physical stress down
Right?
to
It'll be yes,
3.
it'll be physical stress since he's actually trying to do you physical harm.
All right.
All right, and he's going to create a boost for himself, and it'll be your turn to go.
I'm going to try and hit him again. And there we go. That's what I've been looking for.
All right, and he gets a 2. Um, he is going to try and use his Berserk Fury to just give himself a +2 boost. That'll actually put his total at a 4, but you will deal 2 stress to him.
All right. So I've succeeded, but not with style because he used his fury.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good.
You can see the magistrate kind of across the bridge in your peripheral vision. He's shouting, "Kill him, you fool! We don't have time for this."
So I'm going to shout back at him and say, "You're next after I deal with this thing."
Even through the terrible black fog that's now kind of emanating from him, you can see the whites of his eyes widen as he suddenly realizes that great hero Hong Ying is now threatening his life. He takes a step back from, his perch. The monks are all taking cover within their shelter as you guys exchange lightning fast blows. Creature will continue to attack in its berserk state.
All
So
right.
he gets a 4 this time.
I'm going to step back and parry the blows, giving a little bit of ground, but setting myself up for the next exchange.
All right. So you've successfully defended yourself. Your go.
I'm going to follow up with a counter blow.
So you've succeeded by 5, which is a success with style. So just like the creature did before, you'll not only are you going to deal stress to him, but you'll also get a boost. Now the creature itself only has a stress box of 4, and it's checked off its 2 stress box. It doesn't have a stress box that can reduce 5. So what it's going to do is going to take a consequence in order to stay in the fight, and that will reduce its stress further. So it'll check its 4 box off, and then it'll take a mild consequence that's going to be called bleeding. So now your sword is struck home. You've drawn blood, and instead of blood, however, it's like the same black mist comes out. It just starts to pour out of the wound of the creature. And you'll be able to take advantage of that consequence, and you can actually use that as though it were an aspect against the creature if you would like.
Oh, awesome. So I've wounded it. What's it going to do next?
It seems to only become matter, and it keeps coming at you regardless of its own safety, but you've put yourself in a superior position and are easily fending it off.
Excellent. All right. So as it's coming in, I'm gonna try and finish it in one last strike.
Okie
Um,
dokie.
and I would like to invoke Bleeding Fog to make that a 7.
All right, so you'll be at a 7, and I'll go ahead and we'll hit that. He gets a 2 versus your 7, and that's just going to be too much for him as you kind of slash at him. You get a really deep cut, and more fog starts to pour out, and then he just disappears like a puff of smoke. The kind of sensation is not at all pleasant because it smells like all of the bad memories that you associate with smell seem to come rolling out at once, and the creature just vanishes.
Ugh.
Uh, you can hear the magistrate howl, "No!"
I'd like to try and run over to the magistrate.
Sure,
Do
you
I
can
need to
do
make any check for that, or can I just move over
You
to
can
him?
move one zone for free. If you want to move additional zones, you may need to make an athletics roll, especially now since he is starting to turn tail and run.
I would like to try and run him down.
Okay, and so
Maybe not though.
we will roll his athletics versus your athletics.
Oh, he's pretty quick for a
Oh, he got very lucky.
nobleman.
Yeah, so he's trying to leave. He's climbing up this cliff here. So that's going to take his action. He's just running away at all available speed.
All right. I'm gonna attempt to catch him again. I got a
Oh
0 again. Oh
no!
my gosh. That fight really took the wind out of me.
It really did. That was a pretty scary creature you fought.
Oh, but he got a negative.
Oh yeah, so he's trying to make his way up the cliff to leave, but the path that they've taken in is kind of crumbling away as he goes up it. He's clearly in a panic as you're so close behind him. He's like tripping over the hem of his robe. The ground is giving way. It may be difficult terrain, but you are certainly making headway.
All right. Do I need to try and catch him again, or does that get me all the way to him?
That'll get you caught up to him for sure, considering you succeeded with style in that case.
All right. I'm gonna kind of grab him by the shoulder and pull him back and say, "You and I have some talking to do."
He doesn't even answer you. You can see that his eyes filled with terror, and the fog that's kind of emanating from him is starting to eat into his skin. You can see there's irritation, and then cuts are kind of forming as though he's almost dissolving away under the weight of this terrible black magic that he's used.
Oh goodness. I think we'll call the scene there.
Mhm.
But I guess one thing that might be helpful to people is if we talk a little bit more about how these dice rolls are working.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bradley's played a lot of Fate. I'm a little bit newer to it. And so one of the things that I was hoping would happen earlier and didn't was getting that negative result. So when you see like what we're doing here is we're rolling the dice. It says 4DF, which is the fudge dice. And every fudge dice can be a positive, a negative, or a neutral. And so when you get this -1 result, that means that we got a series of results that was in the negative because we had two negatives, a 0 and one plus. So the plus cancels out one of the negatives, the 0 does nothing, and then that negative results in a -1. So it's kind of an interesting way. You have a wider range of numbers than you might really think of. But yeah, so one of the things that's nice on Roll20 is even though it's automatically making the rolls, you can see how you got each result by hovering over them. So you can see that's the -1 I was just talking about. And then like this is the +5. And we actually didn't have any high rolls this game. So even, when I got a 5, that was on a skill that I had +4 in. So all that was I had 3 zeros and a plus.
Since you're pooling the totals of those dice together, you get a very weighted bell curve in Fate or using fudge dice, 4 die fudge, because most of your results are going to be statistically neutral or -1 or -1. Getting farther out on the curve, that +4 -4 is a lot more statistically unlikely. You're going to see results weighted much closer to the middle than you would in something say like Dungeons and Dragons, where you're rolling die 20 and it could be all over the place.
Yeah, so we'll get into Dungeons and Dragons more next time, but it definitely doesn't have the same kind of average that you would expect in Fate. You'll see, like, since it's almost exclusively based on the D20, there's a lot more variants. That concludes our preview of Fate. We tried to do a mix of talking you through how it works as well as showing you how it actually works in action. So we hope y'all enjoyed it, and we hope y'all will join us next time for D&D.
All right, take care, everybody. Happy gaming.